have a personal opinion about the whole Brand New Day storyline. Is there anything you could publicly discuss? Or?
Anything I could publicly discuss? I was all for it. I wasn't really reading Spider-Man on a regular basis at that point, and I kind of jumped on. I think it was a Marcos Martin issue. I just really loved the art, so I picked it up. And so I didn't really notice a difference, and so I don't think I'm really qualified to answer. But I know a lot of people have been reading for a long time, and they were upset when they just kind of changed everything that had happened previously. For me, I just, I mean, these characters are timeless, and I know they need to keep, you know, they need to stay in their, mid-20s, and, you know, or whatever age they are currently, and they've been doing that since the 60s, so I don't really mind if it's in the service of good stories.
So you would prefer to stay unmarried then, instead of ageless?
Well, for me, I didn't feel that they had to be unmarried, but now that they are, that's fine. I mean, if it's going to mean more good Spider-Man stories, I'm all for it. Comic Book Syndicate Assemble.
Hi guys, welcome to another edition of the Comic Book Syndicate. We are here to discuss a disturbing trend in comic books, which I refer to as the gratuitous death scene, which we've seen a lot of in the last few years. It's one thing to kill a character, we know they're all going to come back anyway, but it's another thing to take a character that's been around for a long time and just kill him off, sort of either off panel or on one page. For example, the Banshee. Banshee, he was killed off panel. Done. The guy's been around for 40 years, he's killed off in one panel. Well, just recently in Amazing Spider-Man, a really good writer named Dan Slott wrote a story where the Hobgoblin has been around for 30 years, was killed off in one page. Now, he wasn't killed off in a heroic way. Not to say that the Hobgoblin should die in a heroic way, because he's not a hero.
But he should be given the, you know...
He should be given a story. Right?
Yeah, he's Green Goblin Light. He should be given something, you know, that, not to say, I mean that insultingly, but I also mean that he is important. He has been around for a long time.
He deserves his own arc, right? His own story.
His first appearance is worth money.
Exactly, a lot of money. In this story, Hobgoblin breaks into one of the Green Goblin's old headquarters, and coincidentally, a guy who once pretended to be the Green Goblin is waiting for him. He goes crazy for no reason that we understand and then kills him. Yeah. It's not an example of a good story, it's an example of a cheap death done for shock value.
Making it convenient and easy, and that way he can take the Hobgoblin character and bump it up to the insanity level
of
that
Joker.
he conveniently wants it to be, so he can get into what you talked about before, just more gratuitous violence, more pointless blood, or I mean, he kills what, at least 2 people in the latest issue?
Something like that,
like some throat slitting and all. This is not clever villainy. It's,
no, and
this guy's going nuts.
Are you a fan of Dan Slott? Are you familiar with his work?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Dan Slott, Great Lakes Avengers, She-Hulk, Avengers Initiative. He's a really good writer, one of the best Marvel has right now. So I'm disappointed that he would pull this stunt. So I decided to tweet him, and he decided to tweet me back. Okay.
That's right.
So I tweeted him and I said, "Amazing Spider-Man 649, you reel me in with Hobgoblin, and then WTF." Which stands for something that we can't talk about on TV. And then I say, seems careless to gut a 30-year-old character like this. And he responds...
Who do you think you are?
He responds, careless, reckless. Yep. Fearless? And then he puts in brackets, well, that'd be boastful. But then he says, but careless? No way. Because if anything, you can bet your ass it was deliberate.
Whoa.
It was deliberate, George.
Well, then maybe he'll make this a full rounder,
and maybe
more
he'll just come back,
story,
right?
Well, or he'll just enrichen the story by going back to that moment. I mean, you never know. I've had moments in comics that I've been horribly disappointed in, and then found out 2 issues later that
Superman is coming back.
You had a plan, did you?
But you know what else is funny is that's not the end of it. There's more, George.
Oh my God.
He says, and if it reeled you in and then made you say WTF, by the way, we cannot discuss the meaning of that.
Okay.
That means you didn't see it coming, did you? That means in this book, all bets are off.
Well, that is a common tool to use. I just think it was ineffectual in this one. It's common to kill off a character you love to make the other characters seem like there's peril involved, right? You kill off the co-pilot or the second in command or the doctor character or someone that you're like, no, I love that guy, and he dies right away, so now you have that anxiety of like, oh my God, everybody, but I just don't think this worked in this one.
No, it doesn't. And I'll tell you why. I think that the lesson we should all learn is that the supporting characters are the ones that you use to kill off. They're the ones that make it seem and appear like the lead character could possibly die, even though he won't. What you don't do is take a character that's been around, again, 30 years, and that so much work was put into establishing his real secret identity, and then to just dispose of him in one page, because it wasn't a good story, and honestly, it doesn't make me think anything can happen. It just makes me think that you're resorting to cheap tactics for shock value.
I'm shocked right now.
Okay, here we are, guys, for the final segment of our Chicago edition of the Comic Book Syndicate. We're standing here with Dave Losso and friends. Dave, what would you like to talk about now?
About, like, if companies are actually putting out quality material for kids.
And are they, do you think?
DC's putting some really good stuff out. You know, we actually got, of course, because they're local guys, we got Chicago guys on the job for that. You know, Art and Mike and everybody doing Shazam and Tiny Titans. Marvel's really not doing anything for kids, and a lot of it's just talking down to them. And, you know, you gotta, you gotta start them when they're young, and you know, if you're not getting them anything good.
Well, you know what? I think I'll tell you something. The comics that we read when we were kids were maybe aimed sort of at a maybe teen audience, but I mean, when I was 5, 6 years old, I read them and I liked them.
Yeah.
And you know, nowadays, instead of reprinting a Jack Kirby story, they'll just recreate the story but dumb it down for kids.
Right.
And I don't understand, why don't they just reprint the old story?
Right.
So if you guys want to start, what do you guys think about here at the end?
I think that one thing about Marvel is it's like more they turn to more adult content than kids. One thing they got for kids now is the cartoon. It's like a cartoon called Cartoon Network. I think Marvel Super Kids, but it's still like for adults. You know, more I think than for kids anymore.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I know what you're saying with, like, when we were reading comics or watching cartoons, you know, there were things going on in there that were definitely adult, you know, and stuff, but it didn't, you know, faze us, it didn't harm us in any way, and I think now they're too, maybe they're getting too sensitive, you know, thinking what parents might be thinking, and everything's PC and such, so I think that's why they dumb it down, when they don't realize, you know, kids can handle these things, you know, it's not, yeah, there's stuff that's not for kids, but there's a lot of stuff kids can handle that maybe people don't think of in their age group.
Robert.
Well, I think that Marvel really does need to bring back Mini Marvels and the Franklin Richards.
Yeah.
Those are two really good books.
Their Power Pack book is awesome.
And their Power Pack books are really good too.
One that just came out. Fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, they just finished up the Thor and the Warriors 4. And you know what? My customers ate it up. I mean, they need to bring more of that stuff back.
But do they really need to do a focus, like, do they need to break it down and do a focus on just a demographic? Like you're saying, like, can Justice League not just be an awesome book for everybody?
Right.
Like, do you really need to do the different categories? And I would like to know what this guy's favorite book is.
Yeah, what's your favorite book, man?
Tiny Titans.
Why do you like it?
All the characters are funny.
Speaks to him, Michael.
Yes. And which character do you relate to the most? Is it Cyborg because you're half robot? Is that
Kid Flash.
Kid Flash? And what about Ryan?
I grew up with cartoons like X-Men from the 1990s, and when it came out, it was just a big flash. But now that I see the cartoons that come out now, I mean, of course, it grew up with me because, you know, I'm an adult. I know what's out there. But if I was to show this to my nephew or nieces, it's like, you know, hey, you gotta step out of the room. Too much blood splashing everywhere. Some custom blood's going there. So I said, you know, it's for me, not for you. But that's how it is now. It basically just grow up with the ones that came. That's how.
You know, I think we need to see less of Speedy having his arms chopped off at the shoulder and blood pouring out of him, and more of just fighting robots and time travel and stuff like that, because I think that's what at least the superhero genre is.
Dinosaurs.
Like, yeah, dinosaurs, intelligent dinosaurs. So, okay, what's the final word, Dave? What do you think? What's the future hold for kids' comics?
Yeah, just put more sharks in the books. Shark bombs and explosions. And what do you think, Johnny? What do you want to see in more books? He wants explosions.
Awesome. All right. You heard it here first. That's the wave of the future. Explosions.
Sharks.
We want to thank Dave Losso. We want to thank Robert here from Brainstorm Comics and all of our super friends from Chicago. Hopefully we'll be back again next year to do another episode. And if you haven't heard it before, you heard it here first. Comic Book Syndicate, assemble. Oh no, you can't say that.